So what I'm doing today is just cleaning up solvents that I have and recycling them, meaning I'm doing what you're looking at here, which is just right now it's just a simple distillation of a mixture of acetone and saline that I have from a 50-50 acetone to salty ice bath that I used as a cooling bath, and then I poured it off and saved it in a jug for later because it's got acetone in it. And then I have other dirty solvents like methanol, ethanol, isopropanol, etc., that I bottle, and then I redistill them just as you see here that I'm doing with this acetone to remove them from the water and the other impurities so I can recycle them. And that's generally what I do with all of my solvents. So yeah, this right here, you're looking at the 50-50 mix of, what is this? This is water and acetone. And so I do a couple things. First of all, you can see I make that little notch there, little mark with my finger, you can see. And so that's one way I know when to stop the distillation. Because I had enough of this, I've got to run this multiple times. I've got it in a 1 liter Erlenmeyer, as you see, and I still have to run it multiple times because I had 2 ice baths worth of this 50-50 mix that were cooling a 1 liter beaker under some pretty heavy exotherm. So I had a lot of it, probably close to a gallon total. That's why I wanted to save it. I didn't want to waste all that acetone. But anyhow, since it's a 50-50 mix, I make this little mark here, and I can just sort of boil this down to about where I see it's about the halfway mark, and then I know that it's about time to stop the distillation. But then also, you know, of course, I've got the thermometer up here too. You know, the damn camera will cooperate with me. You know, so I've got that. This doesn't start to come over out of the saline until 63 degrees Celsius. The boiling point of acetone is 56.1. But yeah, this doesn't start coming out till 63, and that's just because it's got to get hot enough to break the loose bond it has with the water, and also to break free from the sodium chloride that's in it, because sodium chloride is soluble in acetone. So yeah, it starts coming over at 63, and then it comes over, it goes up to about 75.5 degrees and hangs out there for about 5 minutes, and then from there it will slowly climb. And right now, let's see if we can get the camera to cooperate. It doesn't show up really well, but I'll walk over to it and I'll be able to give you better idea where we're at temp wise. I'll check it out. I think it's getting pretty high. Right now it's at 92 C and very, very ever so slowly climbing. On this batch here, you know, this here is acetone that I distilled. This is the first run I did here. I didn't film it. This is my second run I'm filming right now. And this, as you can see here, it says 70 to 90 C, and I just wrote that on there to remind myself I collected this fraction at between 70 and 90 C. So at this point, I had already stopped the last distillation, but you know, I had forgotten that I had made a 50-50 mix, roughly. I mean, I didn't weigh it or anything or measure it out to know, because it was ice cubes basically that made the water. But anyhow, I had forgotten to make the mark on there, and it had gotten above 90 C just as it is now, and I was getting scared that I was starting to pull over a lot of water, and stopped the distillation and dumped it out, which was stupid. I hadn't even boiled off. As you can see here, I boiled off maybe about a quarter of my solution. It's, you know, probably somewhere in the range of, you know, a quarter of the way down below that mark. So I'm going to let this go until, you know, I just get it to 100 C and let Then I'll stop the distillation, because as I'm turning everything off, it'll raise above that a little bit. You know, I'll probably get up to 110 or 20. If it'll get up that hot, you know, it'll get as hot as it's going to get before I can shut everything down, because I don't have my hot plate on a lab jack or anything. There's a funky bolt that sticks right out of the bottom of this hot plate, so I can't put it on a lab jack, which would have been nice, because then you could stop the distillation right away just by lowering the jack and removing the heat source. But so I've got to mess around with the clamps and, you know, loosen them, pull the clamps up simultaneously. It's kind of a pain. So what I do is I just basically try to get the still head off of the Claisen adapter, and the Claisen adapter is just on there so I can fill it where that stopper is. I put a funnel down through there and add my stuff that way. But if I find it's easier to get the Erlenmeyer loose if I break the distillation apparatus off of it and just have the Claisen adapter and the flask to deal with. I'm just cleaning up some dirty acetone that I've had saved that I've used for like drying various things and so on and so forth as a solvent, you know, for lots of different things. And see, I'm just collecting it here. I was losing a little bit out here because it started coming over real fast and a lot of vapor was getting past my condenser, and I noticed some fumes wafting out of here, so I put it in this little bath here, makeshift kind of cooling bath, and it's doing a good job. I was actually starting to see some fumes come into the Erlenmeyer here and condense and start like refluxing down the side. But you can see the difference of this to the saline. You know, this is what the dirty stuff looks like here that I'm distilling off, and this stuff is actually coming over. If you can see it, pretty much boiling point of acetone is supposed to be, if it'll focus according to Wikipedia, I think 56.1. This is saying 57, so yeah, pretty damn close. And that's, you know, the difference because there's impurities in it. It's got to try to boil around those, so That'll change the boiling point a little bit. Other than that, you know, it's the same procedure. Now this stuff, I'm not going to worry about fractal distillation on this, because this is just pure acetone with solid impurities in it. There's no liquid like water or anything else in this. The stuff I'm doing from the saline, I planned on fractally distilling it, but when I took the density reading, the beaker I tried to use, little 10 milliliter beaker, the graduations are off. And when I had it full to 10, it registered exactly 7 grams, and it should have registered 8. So I did it in a graduated cylinder, and it was 8, dead on the money. So I don't think I'm going to even worry about fractal distillation with that. I guess I was careful enough with stopping it soon enough that I only got acetone over. So I was lucky, because acetone's density is 0.8 per milliliter grams. So I mean, you know, times 10, that should be 8 grams, and that's exactly what I had. So this is pretty much all there is to it. I mean, you know, if this were DCM or chloroform, any other solvent, you just do the same thing with it. You know, that's what I do. I just save them and redistill them. I ended up losing about, I figured, 150 milliliters of acetone during the saline run of some stuff that I just left in the water. I ended up stopping the second distillation at 97, so, you know, just under the boiling point of water. And I figured that between the 3 runs it took me, I lost about 150 milliliters. It ended up being about a 30-70 mix, acetone to water, after it was all said and done. And I could have recovered the extra 150 milliliters had I let the first batch go all the way to completion, but I didn't. I stopped it early. And the second one I stopped a little bit earlier too. I cut it off at 95. I let this third run go all the way to 97 before I stopped distillation. So I think I got a little bit more on the third run too, with those extra 2 degrees. But if you average it out, it was about 200 milliliters a run. And I could have increased that by another 150, but whatever. So that's pretty much the end of this video. Hope it was helpful to somebody watching this anyhow.